Welcome to R Mochi Podcast, the only podcast rated R for Robin. Today, my guest is Will Dinola. He's a writer, comedian, sound editor for Q Code, works on a couple podcasts, and recently a movie that is apparently doing pretty well in film festivals right now. Will, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
This movie for Roger, Spooky Booky.
Yeah, it's a horror. It's a horror film. It's kind of a found footage. It's found footage and slasher, but I think they also kind of tried to do like a drama with it as well.
So you did sound editing. Is that like the same as sound design? Like, was it kind of your directing for that, or is it
I actually did the score, so I only did the music. I didn't do the sound editing for this.
Cool.
So yeah, I was just in the conversation to do the music for a while, and then, once they had this sort of cut of it, it was my first time doing a feature film. I did a couple short films before, but once they had this cut, they just sort of handed it over, and then I was in communication with the director a ton to just get it to a place where we thought it would be good.
So how did you get in contact with this director? Was it like somebody you knew, or did you like apply for the thing?
I went to school with him and a lot of the other crew members, and they did this as their senior project. I went to Drexel University with them, and I graduated a year before them. And so I was out of school. It was during the pandemic when I think it was like August 2020 when I feel like I did a bulk of the music for it. But they have been working on it for, I think, 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So they've been working on it for a while, and it's just now getting some recognition, which is great.
Nice. So, like, did the movie just come out, or is it like finally like just making the tours around and getting recognized?
Yeah, they just put it into the festival circuit recently. So, I mean, I don't even know how many festivals it was submitted to, but I do know that this year had even more competition than usual because people held their movies back.
Yeah, because of the COVID releases.
So we had people got double. So it's great that it made it into it's mostly into horror festivals. I think they're more, obviously it's a horror movie. So, there's that. And then I think they're just more open to low budget because this was done on a really low budget.
You said it's like a found footage slasher kind of thing?
Yeah.
I can pull up the trailer for this. I don't know if you'll be able to hear it, but this is the trailer for the movie.
Listen to me.
I can't be here anymore.
That doesn't really help.
I'm scared.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Do you know any of the actors?
I saw him.
Or just the director, like the people who are making it?
Yeah, I just knew the crew members. I didn't know the director, or I didn't know the actors. I have met them now, but yeah, I didn't know them when I was doing the music for it.
How did you make all the music? Did you just play all the stuff yourself, record everything, or do you know a bunch of musicians to do it?
The only ones who are gonna.
No, it was one man job.
Damn.
I mean, it can help. I mean, it definitely helps to do it. With a MIDI keyboard, you can get strings and these things that you need. But the challenge, I think, the main challenge was trying to still make it sound organic and not like a synthetic electronic sounding thing. With only one person doing it because we don't have the budget, we don't have the means to do record an orchestra or record even a couple people playing strings, like a quartet or something. Yeah, we just don't have that. So yeah, it was just experimenting and seeing what the limitations were of my abilities, and then seeing how I could use those to do what they needed, get what they needed.
Was it so? How would you say you had to approach, just given that it's a horror movie?
Right.
I imagine a lot of the ambient sound is super important in terms of creating the atmosphere. Did you have to get any sort of mindset for this is what this sound kind of needs to be like? This is the really panicked, freaked out part. You gotta, how do you embody that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, so there was early on, there was a discussion of wanting to, because it's found footage, kind of figuring out what sonic themes there would be like in the score. One of the ideas that I had was to make it kind of like VHS static, or because they shot with a mini DV for those found footage, and it has this different quality to it than the rest of the movie. And all that is to say, like, the idea of having some sort of ambience, we played with like low, really, really low frequencies that are like, and then really, really high frequencies that are like barely perceptible. So there's some scenes where I did score, but you can barely really hear it. We just kind of wanted something running. And then there are other parts where it sounds like, it's like a full song, but, I didn't do the sound design, but they did give me the, background sound room tone for some of the shots that hadn't been laid in yet, just to kind of get an idea of like, what does the movie sound like on its own without the music.
So do you have like your own like personal studio? Did you have to go into a recording studio for this?
I just did it here. I just did it here with, the only instruments that I really needed to record, like with a microphone, were banjo, guitar, and piano. And banjo. What?
Love me some banjo.
Yeah, I'm not a trained banjo player, but I can still pluck.
I would say there aren't very many banjo players out there.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great to be able to do that bluegrass stuff, but
I'm
just not there yet. Yeah.
That actually reminds me, there was a guy at my university. There were like a couple weirdos at my university, like people just kind of knew him. And it's because, I went to Illinois Wesleyan University, which is right next to Illinois State University. And so sometimes we just get some like weirdos kind of going between the campuses. There was a unicycle guy who would just like every once in a while unicycle through the campuses. And then there was also a banjo guy who was always just kind of like walking through quads, playing the banjo with his and walking around with his dog. He's like, "Hey, it's banjo guy." And then there was the whistler. Turned out he was kind of racist, but that's another one of the weirdos.
I was gonna say I thought you were gonna say there's the fedora guy as well, because I was gonna say that's like sort of the trifecta.
No, that was my fraternity.
Oh, okay. Yeah, banjo, unicycle, fedora feels like there's going to be one of those at your university.
There's
walking around.
There's a aficionado of the kazoo.
Yeah.
So you said you went to, is it Drexel University?
Drexel, yeah.
Drexel. Sorry.
Drexel.
Drexel.
Yeah, it's right next to.
It's in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in Philadelphia.
And so you went there for sound design, TV.
Yeah, it was TV production. It was basically a film degree, and then, I think they've folded the major into the film one now. But you
got a Bachelor of Science, right?
Yeah, it's a Bachelor of Science.
That's weird to me.
It is weird. It is weird. But yeah, I mean, it was like a little business oriented with like ad sales stuff, and then like kind of classic what you think of film school, like framing the camera and those types of things.
How long have you been around like film stuff? Did you do like YouTube videos? Did you like make amateur videos with friends?
Yeah, there's a lot of those online. You dig, and just I did a lot of acting as a kid in theater and like theater productions, and then always enjoyed making films with my cousins when we would get together. And I think that just was kind of
just like a little hand cam.
Yeah. Different cameras, and I enjoyed editing stuff together, and just I love the process of it. It's just a fun thing to do, and to kind of have some sort of keepsake that you can go back to. I always appreciated.
Yeah, I imagine, especially with like the movie that you scored, it's found footage, and I imagine you said it's like on VHS. I wonder, like, this is definitely going to be a generationally technological thing where like it's like, oh, this is a VHS. Kid watches it. What the fuck's a VHS?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
like in all
This
those
one,
spy movies where like all of the data was on a fucking floppy disk. Like,
yeah. I mean, this was shot on mini DV, which is like a specific uh
format.
format of tape.
Uh-huh.
I think it's tape. But like I don't really even know that much about it. You know,
Uh-huh.
they shot with it, but like I'm sure like we have like mini DV cameras somewhere that's like hasn't been used in years.
Mhm.
But you know, I mean, there's already so many like outmoded kind of pieces of camera equipment and tech and stuff.
I don't remember who mentioned it, but like it is we are definitely getting to the point of like abstraction in the way we kind of identify things. So like the example that was brought up to me was like the save button in like Microsoft Word and stuff. It's a floppy disk, and kids don't recognize that like what a floppy disk is, but
Right.
they know that this is the save button. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the direction we're going with like these new formats of video, photography stuff. Like we still have like the camera button, but everybody's like most cameras now are just like people's phones.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like the iconography has to be familiar when when we're adopting
Mhm.
some sort of new piece of technology. So they use what's old, and then
Mhm.
for the new people, they don't even know
What would
what
you
those
say?
are.
So you've been around film for a while. Would you say you're much of like a film buff?
I think so. I mean, I feel like in film school, I was surrounded by people that were more film buffs than I was. But I mean, I still really enjoy it, and you know, I mean, I'm in the industry. I try to keep up on new releases when I can.
Mhm.
Don't always see them, but I kind of try to know what's coming out, I guess.
What's the most recent movie you've watched?
The most recent, well, last night I watched Midnight Run.
I've heard of it.
It was all right. I mean, I don't think I would have been interested in it if it didn't have Robert De Niro in it, but it was kind of like a cop buddy, you know, like bringing bounty hunter kind of situation. But then it was a comedy, had very kitschy, like almost 80s sitcom. I mean, it was done in the 80s, but had like this like just wailing guitar that was just so off-putting at times, or just had aged a lot. I thought. Yeah, like just hilarious. Like you'd laugh at that over a joke sometimes when it's just wailing.
Uh-huh. I can't
And it
remember.
was also Danny Elfman who did the music, which was it's just like I'm used to him doing like kind of like a dark, like classical, like because he did the Batman with Jack Nicholson, Joker, those movies and stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm just used to that kind of thing. But I guess he did a lot of other stuff too.
I'm trying to remember the name of this movie I watched. Do you remember the South Park episode? It's like the making movies, making songs, and flying around the world.
I'm not really South Park
Damn it.
guy, but
It's not Kurt Russell. He's an actor who's like notoriously got into like shitloads of fights, and he liked to also make music. I'll have to remember this later, but like
to make music. I don't know.
it'll come back later.
Okay.
But yeah, that movie Midnight Run sounds a lot like it, where it's like these two guys who are like collecting some sort of debt or whatever, and they get into miscellaneous hijinks, and like one of the guys is just like a no nonsense bounty hunter.
Yeah, I mean it's just one of those. I mean it was enjoyable. I don't know if I'll watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Kurt Russell though, from in The Thing, amazing movie.
I haven't seen The Thing. I do like
that movie's so
though.
good, and it's timeless especially because of the use of practical effects, like
Yeah, I love
that era of movies where they just like use practical effects for everything. Like so many of those movies are still like you can't beat them.
Have you seen Altered States?
No.
You should check that one out. It because it reminds me of that era. It has like, you know, they do a little bit of like it's just wild practical effects, and they're like starting to try to do like more involved. Like they have some green screen. They have, you know, like you can see in some of those, but it's just a wild movie. It's very weird.
It looks quite messy. Holy shit.
Yeah, it's like scientific, but it also does these weird like montages of satanic things that are. Well,
Yeah,
I
it looks
don't
like
love.
it.
Yeah, I don't love them, but it is weird. It is practical effects, and there's an ending that has a lot of that.
What would you say is like a movie that came out in like the past 10 or 20 years that you would consider to be timeless? Like even going forward, this is going to be like this is a work of the time that's like excellent.
Past 10 or 20 years, you
No,
say?
in the most recent like 10 20 years, yeah.
I really liked Whiplash.
hmm
I,
It's a lot of the
um,
drumming.
yeah, the
drummer.
drumming one, but I don't know that it has the classic status because I don't know, it's kind of a smaller movie. Maybe it's more of a cult thing, but I do hear a lot of good things about it from other people, and I really like it as well. But I mean, I feel like The Social Network is one that it has to be brought up just because it's kind of like a representative of the zeitgeist.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of like just social media in general. It's encompassing that, and then kind of
I actually haven't seen that one. I probably should.
yeah. I mean, it's really well done. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of liberties are taken in terms of just like making it more
Jesse Eisenberg plays Zuckerberg, right?
Yeah, I mean he's playing his own Zuckerberg. It feels not exactly like Zuck.
Did you
But-
see? Did you see?
Yeah.
Did you see Jesse Eisenberg in Batman versus Superman?
I didn't see that.
Oh my
but
god, it was so bad. It was so bad.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those DC Batman movies
So many of them are not worth watching.
that are those more recent ones. Ben Affleck one. I think is it Ben Affleck for that one?
Yeah, he's the most recent Batman. And
Yeah,
I think
I haven't
the
seen any
next
of
one
those.
is going to be James Patterson, the Twilight dude.
Yeah, Robert Patterson.
Robert Patterson.
Yeah. I don't. I mean, maybe I'll see that. I don't know.
It depends on what story they're trying to tell with Batman. It's because I don't know. It seems very hit or miss with depending on who's the director and like what story they decide to go down.
Yeah, I feel like I've been a little bit, since the Marvel Endgame movie, I've been like, I'm free.
Mhm.
I don't have to watch anymore. Kind of. So I have seen maybe a couple since then of superhero movies, but I feel like I haven't
Recently,
felt watching more.
the most recent superhero movie I watched was Shazam. That movie's so fucking good.
It's good.
Yeah, it's super good.
I haven't seen that. Yeah.
I don't know if you know anything about the character, Billy Batson.
really.
No, he's this kid who gets like this magical power and it turns him into an adult. And so it's like this.
No idea.
It's this kid who's given like these supernatural powers and like has the responsibility of like dealing with it, but he's still a fucking kid. And so he's like learning what powers he has, and the way they go about discovering what powers he has is amazing. It tells the story so well. A lot of the kid actors are really good. The bad guy is kind of a weirdo. Like I'm not the biggest fan of the bad guy, and like the final fight had a little bit too much CG for me. But like a lot of the writing is just really good. It's genuinely funny, but it's like a good superhero movie.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite superhero movie is probably The Incredibles. But
First one, I imagine.
Huh?
First one, I imagine.
Yeah. The second one, I don't know. I liked it when it came out, and then I kind of got out of the theater, and I was like, okay, I think I was just nostalgic, but it wasn't very good.
Yeah, there's been a resurgence in like memes about like the mom's butt, just because like the proportions of the humans in that movie not super realistic, but like everybody
I think
now can appreciate a thick ass.
Pixar moms in general, it seems.
Yeah. What other big Pixar moms are there? There's like
I don't even know, but I feel like I've seen lots of images of it.
hashtag Pixar moms.
Yeah.
What would you you have a favorite studio? Favorite director?
Favorite. I mean, I don't have a favorite studio necessarily. I
Mhm.
mean, like what's it? Annapurna and A24 distributors seem to put out some good stuff, but I'm my favorite director in terms of like the movies they've made and everyone I've thought was great, which is
Mhm.
it's only three I'm gonna say that she wrote, two that she directed is Greta Gerwig. I think
Mhm.
my favorite director right now, and just in terms of the quality of the movies thus far.
Greta Gerwig, she's an actress.
Yeah, she's an actress, and then she did Lady Bird and Little Women remake.
Mhm.
I thought both of those were like perfectly done. And then she wrote and acted in Frances Ha, which is the third one that I'm adding there. But she didn't direct that one.
So she directed Nights and Weekends, Lady Bird, Little Women, and Barbie for
Nights and
2023.
Weekends, Nights and Weekends I didn't even know about. So I need to check that out.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Unless it could be a short. Because I thought that Lady Bird was her first movie, but maybe it's not.
What would you kind of say about like the state of like the movie industry now, especially like after COVID? Like the video game industry and like small producers, people creating their own content have definitely like they've increased because everybody bought a webcam. Everybody's, including myself, started a fucking podcast.
Right.
And with like, you know, going to the movie theater is becoming very outdated. A lot of you know, directors and studios have had to like change gears very quickly because of COVID restrictions and whatever. How do you think the state of the film industry is kind of going forward?
Well,
Netflix producing almost everything.
yeah, I mean, the first thing I'll say is that, like, I think, like every other industry, because of the pandemic, people are getting fed up with the working conditions. And I don't know if you've seen, there's a big union, IATSE, that's like represents producers and crew and other crew members in the film industry, and they voted like I think it's 98% yes on a strike,
Hmm.
and so they're going to be striking. I think
You
it's
said this is film producers or
yeah,
actors?
it's a producers union,
Huh.
but I think they represent other crew members too. I'm not in any film unions,
Uh-huh.
but that's my understanding. Uh, but if anyone's curious who's listening to this, look it up, and I'm sure people have maybe seen it around social media too.
Yeah, I can look it
But
up.
yeah,
How do you spell Ayatsi?
IASTE. No, wait. The T in the yeah. Oh, there's an E in there too.
Uh, so is it this? Let's see. ISD.org.
No, the T is before the S. That's my bad. So I think it's IATSE. Yeah, there it is.
Union strike and movie TV industry shutdown. Ooh.
Stage employees is who it represents. So it's like
International Alliance of Theatrical Stage Employees.
yeah. So you know, I mean that's one. It's like the pandemic I think has opened up, you know, just people's people's impatience or you know, like I guess uh, allowed people to just want to voice their you know, like stick up for their rights
Hmm.
because you know a lot of things have happened, you know, like I don't know if you remember the I think it was towards the beginning of the pandemic there was some stuff with Ellen DeGeneres and you know their crew basically like the show shut down, right?
Mm.
And there were people on GoFundMe from the crew that were asking for funds because there wasn't like paid, you know, time off
From the
from the
workers
crew
of
of
Ellen.
Ellen. Yeah.
Oh, really?
And then the producers didn't like that, so they told them to take the GoFundMe down just because of optics.
Oh.
But they still wouldn't pay them. So it's just it's things like just there's so much money in Hollywood, and there's so many means to make things happen, but they're still doing like 14 to 17-hour days, and working 6 days or a week or more. So it's just it's just and the pay is not good either, especially for like lower like PA level, although PAs don't even have a union. But anyway, that's the first thing I'll say. But the other thing I'll say is, like, I do think that's the more negative side, or that's actually I think it's negative, but it's also positive.
Hopefully people will be getting better conditions.
Hopefully they'll be having better conditions, but it's a little bit more of like the stressful side of things in the industry. But I would say, like, on the other side, I think it's interesting. I thought there's gonna be more animation, and there has been some animation, just because, but some things were able to be finished over the pandemic.
When you say animation, you mean like animated feature films?
Yeah, animated feature films. I thought like might happen more. I mean, the company that I work for, podcasts have been doing well, I think, during the pandemic.
Yeah, because everybody needs something to do.
Right, and I think the company QCO that I work for blew up more because there were actors coming to them, because people were out of work. So that's been an interesting and cool
development
event. Development. But the other thing I was going to say is, like, there's been some interesting limitations where, like, shows have been made and written with like one location in mind, so they don't have to spread out, and they can be more contained. It can be more contained shoot. Like this show that I'm watching now on HBO called The White Lotus. They only shot at a hotel resort in Maui, I think it is, but it's somewhere in Hawaii, if not Maui. But just interesting, like, creative decisions being made to still get content made, but they're doing it in a contained environment. It just seems interesting for stories.
Yeah, I know, like, a lot of people are starting to get away. People are starting to like move out of LA.
That's true too.
There's a lot of people, like Austin, Texas, I know has been blowing up a lot recently, both on like the tech and just creator side. A lot of people moving to Colorado, and it's just because it's a mix between, like, things shutting down, but also, like, you don't need to be near all of the industry leaders in order to participate in the industry anymore.
Right, and I think that's like the nature of the remote work kind of surge that happened as well. With the pandemic, is making it happen remotely, or just kind of traveling around. I think more people are like, I'm working remotely, I can live in different places for shorter amounts of time instead of one for as my home base or whatever. And I think like LA is, I don't love LA, but I think a lot of people are a lot of people are there reluctantly because there's just, that's where stuff is happening. So I think if stuff's not happening there, why be there? And I think, like, it's,
unless you love the Dodgers, and who really loves the Dodgers unless you have to?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think they're doing well now, right?
I actually don't know. I'm just poking fun at a team.
Yeah, but I mean, the Dodgers, I think, like, I feel like I've been hearing more people, like, suddenly talking about them. Maybe they were fans before, and I kind of
hope baseball teams will be. I hope, like, with more people kind of like stepping away from football, both because of the politics, but also because of like severe brain injuries, that baseball will make more of a comeback, because it's the national sport, but it really doesn't get all that much coverage, especially internationally.
I mean, yeah, it feels more niche, I think, right now, or
which I get it. Like, it's difficult trying to get 18 kids together to play a game with, like, that's very start and stop unless you've got good players. Yeah, that's just my grip. I like baseball. I like playing it, watching it. Not the most fun, especially on TV. But like last time I went to a game when I was in Chicago a few years back, I went to a White Sox game, and it was. I think it was particularly fun because it was my first time going to a game and being allowed to drink, and that was awesome. And they
Yeah,
won.
I mean, I think that's probably the answer there is just that it's not that fun to watch on TV. Like that doesn't work for that medium as well. Whereas I think like it's very much a live sport, even though being in the arena. Whereas I feel like football specifically is like really well,
Plus, you're constantly at threat of getting hit. You're constantly even in the audience. You're constantly at threat of getting hit with a baseball.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm just thinking with football, like because you have like turnovers, you have timeouts a lot, and you have setting things before the downs, right? So you have all this room for commercials. Like it's just like just well, and then like also it's like so tight to see the details of what's going on that the camera is kind of necessary compared to baseball where like things are spread out and you can kind of see what's going on from the arena. But you can't really like I think I've been to one NFL game.
I don't think I've ever been to one.
And it's like it's fun, but it's like or even like a high school football game or whatever. Just football. I think is like the TV is makes it even more exciting.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Hockey, I hear, is supposed to be like great to see live.
I've never been to a hockey game.
Yeah, me neither. But like I just know with like the Chicago Blackhawks, everybody was constantly trying to get tickets to one of their games. Like I think in terms of like live spectatorship, baseball, basketball, and hockey are probably like I would guess those are the most interesting to watch in person. But I don't know. I could also be completely wrong.
I'd love to go to like a Wimbledon or like U.S. Open
for like golf.
No, for tennis.
Oh.
Yeah, like I feel like tennis would be a fun one to watch in the arena because I don't think it's that good on TV. But
who the fuck goes to golf live unless you're like participating?
Oh, I don't know.
Who the fuck would like want to sit there and just like?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can barely see the ball as the player, let alone the audience.
You go to a driving range and you like hit one of your own golf balls and you're like, okay, which one of those is mine? That one, the one that's moving. I think that one's mine.
Yeah, I'm terrible at golf. I played like for 1 year in high school. It was bad.
I think Filipinos started getting into it more recently because I think the women's championship in the States, I think, was most recently won by a Filipina. And so Filipinos, we love to like jump on something. We're like, oh yeah, Manny Pacquiao, we should all be boxers. Oh, the new singer for Journey is a Filipino guy. We should all listen to Journey. Yeah. The original singer, his voice went, and they found a singer who his voice matched almost exactly, and he was a Filipino guy, and so all the Filipino community was super hyped for that.
That's really interesting. That's funny though. Those bands that are like very, that are still trying to pull in some income there, and they just are too old to do it to perform like they used to.
I hear like Earth, Wind, and Fire shows are like fantastic to go to still. I know like one of my personal like dream concerts to go watch. I'd love to go to a Billy Joel concert because I fucking love Billy Joel.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting. Like some of the guys are able, like Mick Jagger's, like there's always like some video of him just dancing, and he looks like he's like 20 in terms of his how he can move still.
I've never seen him dance, but I don't know. I think I'm over. I would expect too much just given the fucking song moves like Jagger.
Yeah.
I would expect him to be like moonwalking upside down or something,
No, I
and
mean,
anything
yeah,
short of that is going to underwhelm me.
yeah. I don't think he disappoints, seeing as how old he is and how flexible and
Mhm.
excitable he is.
So the podcast that you edit for, there's two of them that jumped out. There's Distractible and then Erin is the funny one.
Yeah.
Uh, Tell me about those. I listened a little bit to Erin is the funny one because I think I can at least see the previews. They're on Apple and Spotify.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, so they're basically the company's trying to do more unscripted shows.
Hmm.
They're mostly known for fiction podcasts that are scripted.
Hmm.
And yeah, so the branch is called Wood Elf, and they do unscripted material, and it seems as though they're trying to do shows with different YouTubers. So the Distractible show has Markiplier and two of his buddies, and
Oh, that is Markiplier.
yeah,
I thought that looked like somebody familiar. Wow, really? Huh.
yes, and the other show has a YouTuber named called Jack Film,
Jack
or Jack,
Douglas.
yeah, Jack Douglas, Jack's Films, and yeah, so they're different. They're both different, and it's just this one is more of like games and things, and the other one's kind of like Distractable is more like comedy and improv kind of thing.
Markiplier's got a great voice.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. Fun to listen to him and edit that.
Yeah, I don't imagine it's as pleasant necessarily for like all the YouTube videos where he's just like screaming but I think
There's some
that's
screaming on the podcast as well, but it's
Oh.
fine. It's funny.
cool. You also said so you didn't say, but I read in your bio thing on your Tumblr, you're also a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, sure. I mean, I've done.
Confident, sign of a real comedian.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple stand-up shows, but I prefer like sketch comedy, and improv probably to stand-up. But I mean, I'd like to do stand-up more. I'm just not really in a place where I can do it
You
that
gotta
easily, but
you need to like prep writing all the stories, practice, rehearse, like actually all the delivery stuff.
yeah, there's it's just there's a lot of dedication to it if you want to be good at it. But yeah, I mean, I like writing comedy. I would say like most of the writing that I do is comedy related, so I'll say comedian in that aspect. But yeah, not so much as a stand-up comedian or what you might think of like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I did I think either one or two stand-up open mic nights. I wasn't great. I made some people laugh though. And
That's good. I mean, I did too. I wasn't that great either doing a couple, but if you get a few laughs in,
I think
hey.
it's actually like kind of relaxing being up there though, because like especially if they're like doing the lights properly blinding, so where like you don't really see all the people, you just kind of like hear reactions.
Right.
It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I agree. It's like nerve-wracking until you get up, and then it's kind of
Yeah. I think it's strangely easy to find a zen there.
Yeah, it is easy. And then even if you bomb, it still doesn't feel that terrible to me once you're up there.
I am actually, so I'll have to keep you in mind. I am like thinking about trying to do like a Who's Line style like improv thing with Mochi people for like a podcast.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I've already got like jotted down some like game ideas, but I just don't know how well if we're all on like Discord or using like Google Meet, I don't know how well it'll work out. So it's still something I gotta test out a bit.
That would be cool though.
Yeah, man. And back to like what you were mentioning about animated. What made you think that like animated films there'd be like more of them coming out just given like podcast or the quarantine stuff.
Well, just because it can be done remotely,
Hmm.
and people can record from their homes. Like you can send like a kit with, an audio interface and a mic to someone,
Hmm.
and they can, do it with their closet open.
Hmm.
And there's, there's good enough software to like take away all of the room tone and things, and get that voice sounding like even crisper.
Hmm.
So, and then like I think Soul, that Pixar movie,
Yep.
was finished in the quarantine,
Oh, is it?
and
Oh yeah,
like they had
2020, wasn't it?
they had all of these animators, from their homes finishing these little sections of it. So, I just thought, that it would be, less of a liability, a lot easier to make happen.
Hmm.
So I haven't really seen that though, which is interesting. But
Hmm.
that was a thought.
Well, I would also imagine like there aren't many like it's not something you can do very independently, very cheaply. Uh, it's got
No,
to
yeah,
it's got to be like a
takes
big studio dedication.
right. Like I think maybe what it was is like that could happen because they had already started everything,
Hmm.
with Soul, that is. And so like, it was smooth to transition it to remote. But yeah, maybe starting a new production is more difficult. But I mean, uh it can be done. I mean, just Zoom production meetings and Zoom post meetings, it can be done.
I know. I think Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli is actually he came out of retirement again. I think to work on another movie. I think it's supposed to come out next year or the year after that.
Exciting. Yeah, I like his stuff for sure.
Yeah, I did this past year. I think I watched all of the Miyazaki Ghibli movies. I don't think I've watched all of the Ghibli movies technically.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah, I mean, well, HBO Max has all of those.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
and Studio Ghibli they also recently released a lot of their images for like open source usage, which is awesome.
really,
Yeah, they went the
that's
opposite route
great.
of like fucking Disney,
Yeah, and
holding onto the copyrights forever and causing new
yeah,
laws and problems for everyone.
that's so interesting. I did not know that. Yeah, that's great. I think that's really cool.
Um, but yeah, I know like I'm not sure which movie they started it with, but they started switching more over to like the digital animation as opposed to
Right.
traditional. Um, and like the more recent ones, I'm not the biggest fan of. The Wind Also Rises was like I think that movie was more in like the musical score and the storytelling, less the animation. But like the classic ones like Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and like Laputa Castle in the Sky, those movies are
Yeah,
amazing.
Castle in the Sky, I think, is my favorite one that
Oh
I've
my
seen.
god, Castle in the Sky
It's
is
beautiful.
so good.
It's just so good. From the music to the story to the
The
anime.
different
I mean, it's like
settings and
everything's
everything. Yeah,
perfect. Yeah, I mean the world building is like incredible.
it's straight up playing through an entire Final Fantasy game in like one sitting as a movie.
I don't know Final Fantasy, but it does feel like, yeah, I'm not much of a gamer, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, it's so dense. The world feels so dense, even though you're like in this little like smaller storyline.
Hmm.
It feels like there's a lot.
I love the way they animate like the mom, the Sky Pirate mom, how she runs everywhere. It's just so
Yeah,
fucking intense and
the pigtails, like, yeah,
unrelenting. Yeah.
yeah,
The
yeah,
Studio Ghibli, they love their old hag women who with like
definitely.
unbreakable will.
Howl's Moving Castle is a good one with that. Like that, because she
Yeah.
turns, like, the girl turns into an older woman. Like, I forget how that happens. Is cursed by a witch or something.
Yeah, she gets cursed by a
Yeah,
witch who's trying to get Howl's Castle. I don't. I'm not the biggest fan of that movie because of the way like I didn't feel like the love thing was like was realistic or organic in any way.
yeah. Well, yeah. I used to like it a lot, and then I rewatched it somewhat recently, and
Hmm.
it's also too long. Like
Yeah.
for the payoff that and ends up happening. But I still like very much enjoy some of the world aspects like with that, the house is very cool, and
Yeah.
the door that can teleport to a couple different homes is cool.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just kind of like the crossplay between a lot of these different mediums. I know, like, I know personally that like a lot of video game stuff they steal, or not steal, but like they borrow a lot of ideas from specifically Miyazaki movies. Miyazaki movies like Miyazaki movies. A lot of video games take from like the manga Berserk, and just the way that all these different mediums inspire like new incredible works. Like the entire Dark Souls series owes its iconography to pretty much everything from Berserk, and in itself, the Dark Souls series is like super iconic and super well regarded. And so people are there are references to Dark Souls in other games, and I'm sure it's gonna like come up in movies and other stuff too.
Well, yeah, I think that's great, and I mean, yet another reason why it's so cool they lifted the copyright for those images
Hmm.
to recreate those, because I feel like now it's like even more free reign to be inspired by those, and pull them into your other content, whether
Hmm.
it be another movie or a video game or something. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think one of the questions I had like with like the movie industry, just because Disney is becoming like the media giant, buying out so many different like studios, um, and they've put out a lot of like problematic movies, and just like their stranglehold on so many different IPs. Uh, I don't know. It seems unreasonable, uh, in terms of like Creative Commons usage of like because so many of their ideas were made by other people with the intent of like just inspiring other people. It's not about holding copyright forever and letting things go, especially when so
Right.
much of their the movies they created were from like folk tales, but essentially now they have the creative license to all those things and nobody's allowed to copy them, which is
Right. I mean,
like
the copyright law that's in the US is like such an like a specific new thing, I feel like. And like
it was specifically
in
made
Europe.
for Disney.
Yeah. Yeah, well they also lobbied to change the exact years,
Hmm.
but that the copyright would stay. But yeah, I mean it's just like this fundamental difference in thinking that's kind of interesting, of what's yours, and what like that the fact that it is yours means that you're making money from it is
Hmm.
also like, because it's art, so it's not really just the person who made it, because it belongs to the people that enjoy it as well. But I think, yeah, I mean it's hard to reconcile, because you do want people, because at the same time you want people to be paid for their
Hmm.
work. But yeah, I think you're right. It's getting out of hand in terms of them.
Like I'm glad they did a good job with the mainline MCU. They did a great job like developing that into like a cohesive story with like excellent actors. They got like Robert Downey Jr., like the most iconic person for Iron Man, to play this the entire time. They did a good job with like the writing, the storytelling. It was exciting for both for casual viewers and like hardcore Marvel fans. But then there's the problem of just right now. I know there's like the issue of them creating like the next phase of Marvel and other creators who are allowed to do stuff around that. But then also like the deal with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's
Right.
owned by Sony. And
Well, right, and then if they have, I don't know if they're gonna have the other two actors reprise, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield reprise their roles in this one. I mean,
Mhm,
I've like heard those rumors of that,
mhm.
but yeah, like how many? It's just so fascinating how many deals had to be made, contractually, to make that happen, besides just the actors like we're going
Yeah.
to be in this movie, because there's just so much IP stuff beyond that,
Hmm.
and ownership. So yeah, it seems like annoying.
I know,
Have
like
to deal with.
specifically in like the video game world, like the game Marvel versus Capcom. It was supposed to be owned by both Marvel and Capcom, but because Marvel got bought out by Disney, they're unable to sell in online stores the original Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And there's like a huge campaign going on right now, hashtag free MVC2, from like the license owner, so that this game can be played by so many other people. And the only way most people can play it now is by hacking, or is by getting an emulator and a ROM. It's like money on the table, but like nobody's willing to make a deal on it. So hopefully it'll be making it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's one of the just getting involved with Mochi and kind of wanting to understand like crypto and NFTs a bit more. Like
Mhm.
one of the reasons I wanted to do that is because I think there's potential for like we're talking about now, the copyright and
Mhm.
attaching, NFT, minting to copyrights, like holding a copyright,
Mhm.
just because like just so you have like, I mean, first I think that like the copyright should break down sooner than it is, but also like in terms of residual and maybe like transfer of ownership,
Mhm.
kind of anyone who's contributed to the project could have like this drip of
Mhm.
income returning from that. I think there's potential there, but yeah, I'm not even sure where it stands right now if anyone's doing that or not.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are working on it, but I know one of the big things kind of going on is both with the transfer over to proof of stake rather than proof of work. Everybody's trying to like, there's preparation for hosting nodes, but then there's also a lot of people who are creating, like, essentially they're not securities, but they're like the predictive futures of derivatives of the different tokens and stuff.
Right.
Like all these different like liquidity exchange markets are popping up, and I think a lot of people right now are still focused on the value of the dollar value of like this as a security versus like the technological, opportunities it
Yeah,
allows for
like
people.
the currency aspect has to be kind of worked out before you can implement
Hmm.
like the uses of it fully.
Yeah, but everybody right now is still just looking at the dollar signs value of it as opposed to the, working out how. I mean, there are plenty of people who are working on different technologies that will actually enable people to collaborate and to get proper ownership for artworks and things that they create. But yeah, there is
But that's
that battle
yeah.
between like
Yeah, I mean
equity and value.
I mean I guess it's still in its infancy, it feels like maybe.
Hmm. Not super infancy, but yeah, it's still pretty early on. It's still mostly
Toddler.
wild speculation. We're still debating whether or not we should be able to abort it.
So that I mean that's before infancy then.
Hmm. Uh, yeah. So you came in batch three. You found Mochi. You said through Zora.
Yeah.
So were you just like reading through the pieces? Did you check out like the zine through like the Mochi site?
Yeah, I checked it out through the site that lives on, the
Hmm.
zine lives on, and reading a couple of the stories and uh seeing what it looked like, what the story, how the stories lived on Zora as well,
Hmm.
as NFTs. But yeah, just it was kind of like it was a time where I was unemployed and like just applying to a lot of things. I was like, oh, there's an interview process. That would be good for me to do another interview.
Hmm.
That was another reason I was like, I'll just do that.
Uh-huh.
Uh, but yeah, Mochi seemed like mysterious and interesting, and yeah,
I think that's what we're going for, kind of, sort of.
definitely, yeah. I think it's
Did you have a favorite piece that you read?
um I really liked Marissa's. I think was my favorite that I read.
Marissa's was
It was it was like this
The
health,
emoji one.
yeah, like it was like this health spiral, like
Mhm.
someone trying to. I'm like very interested in that anyway, and that like like new health or like
Mhm.
that kind
Alternative
of
medicine.
alternative medicine stuff. Like those worlds are interesting to me, and
Not
yeah,
as
so
like
that
not as like actual personal help, but like you're fascinated in the culture around it.
well, yes, I'm fascinated in the culture around it, but I feel like if to be very interested in, sometimes you get in too much and you have to back off.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like I you have to be there's a healthy relationship
Hmm.
hopefully between,
There's
but
a fence. You just got to make sure to stay on one side of
yes,
it, even though you want to look over the other.
yes.
uh, yeah, I was an editor for the first zine. I think so. Marissa, I think she mentioned like that a lot of that was like first-hand account stuff. Like a lot of that she kind of did actually go through.
No, that's the thing that like I feel like I kind of connected with, because I think to under like I mean that doesn't surprise me, only because to understand it that thoroughly I feel like you do have to be in it a
Mhm.
bit. So that's, and I feel like I am, so I that's just why I connected with it,
Mhm.
because I find it funny and ridiculous and also helpful at times at the same all at the same time.
Yeah, I believe in the original, or not the original ending, but like one of the endings she was like playing around with was that like it ends up in a relationship with like the guy who was the QAnon shaman, and like you're holding, she's like holding hands with the guy with the like the bull horns on Capitol Hill,
Right. He was the guy who
which I personally liked as the ending, but I mean
maybe,
the piece is
yeah,
strong as it is.
maybe it's a bit more timeless without I don't know.
Hmm. Hot takes. Religion.
What about religion?
Yeah, give me your hot take on either individual religions,
I
religion in general.
My hot take is I like religion.
Mhm. Are you
I
religious?
guess. I would say, I mean, I grew up Christian,
Hmm.
uh, but yeah, I mean, I think
Protestant, Roman Catholic.
yeah, it was a Protestant church for childhood, and then I went to a Catholic school as well,
Hmm.
and then kind of like non-denominational kind of
Hmm.
church beyond that. But yeah, I mean, I just, I feel like I'm not as practicing now, but I appreciate religion, despite a lot of people's issues with it, I think.
It's the miscellaneous criticisms. The place I live, like there are like I would say way more churches than there are hospitals. I'm
Yeah.
in the Lviv region. Like you would like as a landmark. It's like, oh no, you take a left at this church, that church. No, the other church. There's a church across the street. You got to take a left there, and it's the best way of getting around.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of there's just a lot of churches in general.
Hmm. Yeah, I think one of the things with like, so I have a friend who recently I think she's essentially, I don't know if she's born again or found religion for the first time, but like it's weird, especially in like mid to late 20s, like having a friend who kind of steps into religion when you didn't know that they had anything around it before, to where like it felt like, oh, is this like some really drawn out joke that you're telling, or is this like are you genuinely like, yeah, I need to give myself over to Jesus super hard, and it's like,
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's interesting at how, like, where in life people fall into it,
mhm,
or when they fall out of it as well. I mean, I feel like yeah, yeah, I think it's maybe shocking for your friend, just because I feel like maybe this age is when people fall out of it
mhm.
more often, like maybe like college and
College, you
you
go through, everybody becomes a Buddhist. Sophomore,
yeah,
junior years, everybody's a
yeah, like
Buddhist.
so after college you kind of are either, I'm not, maybe actually at the same time, there are a lot of people who are like settling into it, especially like maybe starting a family, because there's kind of a conversation of like if you'll raise children in a certain religion or not. Maybe people fall into it, or more routinely. I'm not sure, but yeah, it is interesting. I don't know. Not many of my friends are religious, actually.
So what would you say that you really like about religion? Is it like the community? Is it just kind of like the comfort in like a higher power?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like they're all sort of seeking understanding of the of a higher power. Um, and yeah, and I do like the community aspect. I think there's an interesting thing which I'm per se, but kind of I'm thinking about a lot of just like the the comfort and the nostalgia aspect of it. I think like in thinking about it, I feel like a lot of times the routine, like the rituals, are comforting because it's routine and it's familiar, and so it's kind of a, like I said, just something that I think about with, is it because of that or something else?
Yeah, I would say that's why most people, while most people wouldn't say they're religious, I'd say like a good majority of people would say that they're in some way spiritual. And I think a lot of it has to do with like the meditativeness or the ritual, because like like ritual, just it puts you into that state of like flow.
Right. And I think, yeah, like with so many religions and so many like forms of meditation too, like the goal is, or like the result or goal is happening for a lot of times. Like if you're able to get into that,
It gives you peace of
zone.
mind and like a sense of
Yeah,
tranquility,
totally.
and like existence in the space, which is like, I mean, that's essentially what like the rosary is. It's the same as like like Buddhist mantras, or like all the entire, like the Quran, and I think most of like the Bhagavad Gita. Like I think those were originally written in musical verse, because these are supposed to be sung. These are supposed to be like meditated on as like a, coming in touch with something higher. And in many ways, like it's the same thing with like music and art. That there's a way of doing that in a way that we normally can't, through like speaking and communicating. And there's got to be something that's like felt.
Right.
That being said, I'm also very not religious. I'd
Yeah,
say,
I mean,
I'd say just like, so like we're Filipinos. My family's Filipino, and naturally super super like Catholic Christian is very big part of that culture. But and I'd say like, yeah, that miss of nostalgia, it does, like I kind of miss it sometimes, of like like when things aren't going well, you don't really have a God there to feel like, oh, at least God is like on my side, or I know that there's something preparing me. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I think a lot about like the history, especially with like Spain and the Philippines. It's strange to me how many like colonized communities are some of the most like deeply religious communities. So like the Irish Catholic people, Mexican Catholics, Filipino Catholics. They were all like colony states, and like one of like the big figures in all of these is like white Jesus, and so that's just something that's never settled well with me.
oh yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense, and like I don't fault anyone for like falling out of religion because of those types of, you know,
Hmm.
uh, horrible flaws and hypocrisies in it.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think, I mean, like where I've sort of thought about it is just like kind of so many like harm being done by humans in a variety of like in the name of a variety of things.
Hmm.
So So yeah. Anyway, so as to kind of like not make that seem as unique.
Mhm.
But I mean, it is still unique, but doesn't seem as unique because harm does get done in the name of a lot of things. Like a lot of things get twisted, kind
Yeah.
of, for other means.
Yeah. Shit gets real sometimes. Next hot take, Joe Biden.
I am disappointed.
Uh,
that
in, in what sense?
I just, I mean, it just feels like a quieter continuation of Trump,
Hmm.
kind of like a less annoying. Like we didn't have to deal with the
So you would
day
say
to
it's
day.
you'd say it's more of a quiet Trump than a like return to Obama.
It feels like that to me, but I also don't think I was as in tune with what was happening
Hmm.
during the Obama years,
Hmm.
just because I was a little bit younger. Um,
Yeah, I
so it
remember
made
like the
yeah,
the first time I got to vote was for Obama, and the only reason I voted for him is because he was black, and it felt
yeah,
good to do that.
yeah. I mean, like I actually the first time I got to vote was was the Trump Hillary
Hmm.
election,
Oh, that must have sucked.
and the thing was is I actually I didn't vote because my registration had not gone through when I
Oh,
went to the there's this weird thing.
you needed to
And
register to vote in Maryland?
well, I had it was I was in Pennsylvania at the time,
Hmm.
so I had to register to vote there,
Gotcha.
and it was actually it's actually kind of sketchy where I had they had all of these uh like I don't know, like tents set up, when we first moved to school there,
Hmm.
like the move-in day, and you can sign, and they're saying like register to vote, that day, and signed up, and I was like, I like asked them like, is this all I have to do? Are there any other steps, kind of thing?
Hmm.
And they were like, no, there's no other steps, but I guess there were other steps. I literally had to like the step was just to call them and confirm that the all of the information was correct,
Hmm.
and they didn't inform me of that. And I guess the mail did not like I checked my mail, I guess, after like when I came home, or like when they sent me back
Hmm.
from the ballot, saying you can't vote. But I did a provisional ballot. But luckily, I was in Philadelphia, which I wasn't too worried about where it would go there.
Hmm.
I mean, Joe Biden. I mean, it just seems there's still things continuing. It's uh, uh, I hoped I was too optimistic or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, like he has like had a shit start. I mean, like picking up the COVID epidemic was like pandemic. There's no way that could have been like excellent.
Smooth, yeah. I mean, yeah. It just
But then like his next big thing was like the pulling out of Afghanistan, and that was like it was necessary, but it was also an absolute mess. Whoever did it was going to have to like they were gonna they were gonna be taking a big hit in polls after that. But
yeah.
like
I mean, and some of the border crisis stuff feels like worse, or border crisis, or whatever you want to call it. I mean,
like our
it
concentration
just
camps, you mean?
feels worse, and like especially all of the stuff that I was seeing with like Kamala Harris visiting like one of the concentration camps, like, and like talking about the amenities there, and like it just seems so dystopic. Like
Mm-hmm.
the quality of it was just very alarming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now everything is still just like new mask mandates, requirements for like everything like news wise that I'm seeing from Ukraine right now is like just different industries, different people like leaving work, soldiers getting discharged because they refuse to get vaccinations, and like every other day it's like a new announcement from like Fauci or from Biden doing some sort of like, you need to wear masks, you need to get vaccinated.
Well, that's
And
the thing. Like literally, like it does.
it's such a
Like,
political thing, and it's so obnoxious.
well, it also just feels kind of just as like changing as during Trump's presidency.
Hmm.
I think like from what it feels like, there's still like different people in that, in authority figures saying kind of different things. So it's like literally like every day you're like, which article did you read, or like which announcement did you hear to
Hmm.
know like, I'm vaccinated, so I'm not going to wear the mask indoor. Like all these kind of details
Hmm.
that seem to be like, even though it's not like the injecting bleach idea that Trump had, but it's like it's still these like still you still have questions, kind of like, what do I do
Hmm.
exactly? Because things are still really chaotic with it.
I mean, in that sense, yeah, I guess it is still kind of like a pickup from Trump, but at the same time, like, it's more in my estimation, it's more like, things are falling apart rather than they're being actively dismantled. Which, like in Trump's case, like his every head of every department that like Trump put somebody in charge of, they were there specifically to dismantle it, like Scott Pruitt for the EPA, or Betsy DeVos for the education department. Like they were specifically there to dismantle regulations against, abuse, people who would like be abusing things in various industries. And then at least with Biden, it's just like, it seems like right now it is almost specifically just like it's concentration camps, Afghanistan, and COVID.
Yeah,
Which
but I
like,
mean, at the same time, like it does, like even though you have someone like in the, say these cabinet roles, like you have some people there that they seem like they're going to do something that's not backwards.
mhm.
It still feels like it's not forwards necessarily.
Yeah,
Where like that's the kind of why I say disappointing, because it's like, it was sort of it felt like happy day,
uh-huh,
when Biden won the election, right?
uh-huh.
Because it felt forward, I guess. But to me, at least a little bit on that day, at least. But the thing is that it still feels like the Democrats could actually, because they hold the majority in,
The Senate.
yeah, that they can still do stuff, but
Yeah,
they're
but we also
not.
still got fucking Joe Manchin, like siding with
Yeah, I
Republicans
mean,
for
yeah,
everything.
I don't know. It just feels like, I mean, I don't know if it's just because I am less aligned with, I'm not aligned with Republican agenda, but it feels like they get more done. That's
Oh,
all.
absolutely. No, that's
Yeah, like,
undebatable.
yeah. So it's just because yeah. I mean, it feels like now that they're working together to stall things.
Yeah, Democrats are like, they're elected to get nothing done or lose to Republicans, whereas Republicans are elected to oppose Democrats and do Republican things. I think that's like the big difference. Democrats
Right.
just oppose things; they don't put things forward, which is like the really unfortunate, circumstance. That's why they're not designed to win. You know.
Yeah. It's not good.
Um I remember, so like that first election you said, with Hillary Clinton and Trump. I remember that year I had like one of like the single worst days of my life where like first I watched, I might have told the story before on a different podcast, I don't remember. But like it was that day, it was the day of the California primary. I watched a movie with one of my sisters. It was Days of Future Past, the X-Men movie, which was just a fucking mess. And then driving home, we saw like a fox like limp across the street, and I dropped my sister off home, and I went to go pick up the fox, like because it seemed injured, and I wanted to like take it to like a shelter or something, and I found it, and it bit me. But that was only because I was kind of being an idiot. But like I called a cop, and we tried to call shelters. Nobody was going to take it. But like because I had gotten bitten, I had to go to like the hospital to get rabies shots, and they needed to take the fox so that they can see whether or not it has rabies. So I tried to help this fox. It seemed nice after it bit me. It like was completely calmed down and let me carry it and stuff. But again, not supposed to be doing that. But so I go to the hospital. They give me like 5 or 6 shots with like needles like this long into my hand where I got bit, and they fill it with interferon, which is essentially plastic. In order to stop, if there is an infection, it'll stop the infection. So my hand is like fully inflated at like 2 a.m. in the morning because it took them that fucking long to get like somebody to come to me. And Hillary Clinton won the Democratic primary over Bernie Sanders, and that would have been the one where he could have been the candidate if he had won there.
Right. Yeah.
I fucking hate Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been great if he was. I was very, yeah, I remember his his concession speech or whatever you want to call it when at the convention was very like depressing.
Yeah, but then like the Hillary Clinton, like herself, not just her supporters, will constantly like blame Bernie and Bernie Bros for not like coming out to support her. I think he went on like 30 or 40 different. He went to like 30 or 40 different rallies campaigning for her.
Right.
Which she didn't even do for Joe Biden in the 2020 election.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Super good guy.
Yeah.
In the first podcast, I referred to him as a unicorn. He was a unicorn. He was a unicorn, and we were supposed to drink his blood, but we didn't. We gave it to Voldemort. Yeah. You said that you have been reading a lot recently. What kind of things have you been reading?
I was reading a lot during the pandemic. Kind of have been a little bit less
fiction, nonfiction.
Both. I read like this nonfiction book that was super good. Was called The Mushroom at the End of the World, which was like this really great book about specific matsutake mushroom that's like a delicacy in Japan, but has somehow made its way to Oregon, and like it grows in Oregon, and there's like pickers in Oregon that are like either like some of them, a lot of them are immigrants that are like Japanese, or there's a lot of like Vietnam vets that are like that have PTSD, so they can't really live in a city, that just like live in the woods and then like forage these mushrooms. And there's like this huge weird supply. Like,
did you say this is a psychedelic mushroom, or this is just like a regular eating mushroom?
Yeah, it's just this. It's a delicacy in Japan, but like it's kind of smells weird, and so a lot of other cultures don't eat it as much. I think, but it has become like a delicacy in Japan for whatever reason. Like they give it, it's very expensive, and they give it as like a gift of
matsutake mushrooms.
Yeah, and anyway, the book is great and the reason I was interested in it is because they kind of are telling the story of these mushrooms, but also telling the story of like, I guess the idea is the idea is I think the subheading was like of the book was like working in capitalist ruins, or let's see what the subheading was.
Mushroom at the End of the World, on the possibility of life in capitalist ruins. Okay.
Yeah, so it's close, but it's really interesting because it takes this one mushroom and talks about the supply chain and how kind of contrived it is, but like just talks about kind of all of the the joy and the life that occurs despite the the very capitalist process that leaves a lot of people in not great. But it was just a very hopeful read to read during the pandemic, and it's super interesting. Some people might be bored by some of the sections that are very mushroom focused, but I felt like it's interesting because it's like it's an ethnography, I would say, but it's so like there's some the reason I read it was because I saw a passage and I was like this, and then I looked up what it was from. I was like, this is from, because the passage is so like beautifully like of like this prose about hope or something. It was something like that, and I was like, oh, I have to try to get my hands on this.
Imagine like Super Mario reading and is like, oh.
Yeah, it was a similar, but yeah, that book was super good. And then I read some Ursula K. Le Guin books that were really good, like fiction. She's like a sci-fi fantasy writer.
Ursula K. Le Guin.
K. Le Guin. It's Guin. Yeah, she did the Earthsea fantasy series, which actually Miyazaki did or not Miyazaki, but Ghibli, I think it was, did a adaptation of. It's like the one with dragon in it. But I didn't read those. I read like her two of her books. The Dispossessed and The Left Hand of Darkness was the other one, and they're both like I think her more well-known sci-fi ones. So they're very good. They're both kind of like about gender, I would say, and they she writes from a sort of very historical standpoint and getting like the history of these planets, and which I find really interesting, and like very cultural. I think her like father I read was like a
anthropologist or something.
Yeah, anthropologist or something like that, or maybe her mother. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I've tried. I've got like a story kind of in mind that I'm trying to write, but like the world building, I think, is probably like one of the most daunting things to me. Like these authors who are able to like create these like really like vast, beautiful worlds with like really well explained stuff. It's really intimidating, I think, trying to get into it as like a first time writer.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the key is just kind of like not telling everything.
Yeah,
I think is probably the key. It's just kind of like telling what you need, but then
but you still need to like have, at least in your mind, you need to like kind of know how the world works, even if like in the story it isn't necessarily happening.
Actually I don't think you do. I don't think you need to have it all figured out, because because you need to be able to explore it as well. Like I feel like that like having a little bit open leaves kind of like surprises for yourself that may take the writing in a certain way. But I think like as you write, like rules kind of need to be established, and maybe that's how the world gets built, is kind of through writing. Like I feel like it feels like a lot of these authors, unless they're like very very talented, like might write like short stories in the world first, to kind of like, it seems like that's what this author did, kind of like wrote short stories in that realm to first get a grip on what the world was before they went into this full book.
So you said you've done like comedic writing. Is it like a lot of parody work?
Yeah, some like that thing you just pulled up. Yeah, there's some comedy like.
Oh, whoops! Sorry.
Well, this is during the pandemic. It was more. I was like trying to get some more things published that were comedy, or like parody type things. But that was more recent. But
subscription streaming service, subscription toothbrush service.
But yeah, this is kind of me just like, one day I was just thinking about these kind of gibberish company names like that are the streaming services, and
Nice.
I saw one where like the toothbrush ones are also just as gibberish, and it's like very hard to tell them apart. So I thought I've seen some of these lists that are kind of fun. This is not much writing to be done; it's more research. But
I wrote one kind of like this, but like so, I had this like say a similar process where it's just like, this is something that like can be written that's stupid.
Right, exactly. This is so stupid.
Like I woke up one night in China and I was like, man, top 10 things that or top 10 positions that will get you killed. And like the number 10 standing, number 9 sitting.
Right, that's funny.
I think number 3 I made like Russian journalist.
Yeah, I like those lists. I think it's a fun format.
I tried submitting it to Medium, but 1, I use copyrighted images, and 2, the word limit is way too long. I can't really submit it anywhere. It's a really long, annoying piece. People who've read it like it, but unfortunately, I don't think I can publish it.
There's a lot of these kinds of like I feel like I've sent that piece to a couple places before they made it in one. So there's a lot, and usually someone will take it, but maybe it is too long. Maybe you can cut it down. Maybe
I don't want to cut it down. Oh man.
Then it's yours to hold on to. I guess I don't know.
The Russian section, the Russian journalist. Like I didn't actually. So each one of the different positions that could get you killed has like 2 or 3 paragraphs in it. And it's all just like written stream of consciousness nonsense, where like you can kind of see what I'm trying to say, but I'm not saying it correctly, and it's like that's intended. And for the one I did for like the Russian journalist, one it's just a picture of Vladimir Putin, and all the paragraphs it's lorem ipsum, just like the placeholder text, but it's all translated. Right. It's all translated into Ukrainian. So. Fuck Russia.
Yeah, there's one that I want to try to do before the end of the year, which is like, year was the year of the pirate.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Because I feel like there's been a lot of things that are very piratey in this year thus far. So I'm trying to
like what?
Like one off the top of my head was just the ship that blocked the Suez Canal.
Oh, with all the graphics cards on it.
Yeah, like that one was. Yeah, that was one, and I have the list somewhere. I can't even think of them. Like, because I've kind of like put it off. Like, I had like I think I had like 2 events for like the first 6 months each that were like very piratey. But yeah, I can't even think of more. But that's the only one I can think of right now.
How would you caption though 2020?
I think I
said
that
year.
I think I said it was the year of the peasant or like the serf or something. It felt like that.
Really?
Like just like you got the plague, you got the wealthy, like the wealth inequality, where it's just like, you know, the rich are getting richer, and it just that essence felt like.
I think we almost started a war with North Korea within the first 2 months.
Yeah, I mean that was true.
California was on fire.
It's like that's
Australia was on fire.
Yeah, that kind of goes with the like leaders yelling at each other, like you know, kingdoms kind of rival kingdoms kind of thing.
It was the murder hornets.
Yeah, it was a weird year. It was. I mean, it feels like the virus is like the only thing I can.
2021, like I can't exactly say it's been like a palate cleanse, but it has been like, you know, at least I finally got the shit out of my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a better year overall, I would say. I mean, a little bit less stuck in your home.
Yeah, that's true.
Like a little slightly.
How has Maryland been COVID wise?
So I don't think the full state has been so bad, but this area that we live in is like a rural area that's like, you know, about 10 minutes from West Virginia, 10 minutes from Pennsylvania.
West Virginia.
that little panhandle section of Maryland, and so we had like I think we had the highest rate of transmission at some point
Uh-huh.
in the pandemic. But like at the same time, it's not a highly populated area. So even though it's like got the highest transmission rate, the deaths were like relatively minimal. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit easier to like not be in contact with people. Like you're in contact with less people than you would in the city. So in that sense, it was, a little bit easier to be in this place. But yeah, I think it was bad for a little bit.
It's those remote mountain orgies.
Sure.
Yeah, it's always a potluck where you get everybody else sick. And if it's not an STD, it's some sort of bug.
Yeah, well, it's like people going to church, like people trying to have,
Maryland is a traditionally blue state, correct?
Yeah, but this area is not. Because this is like in the Appalachian Mountains, and it's just like very much like you can get to some farms that are very far apart that like close by, and you got a lot of Trumpers around here, a lot.
I see. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Appalachian Mountains are like old as fuck, aren't they?
I think so.
They're like one of like the oldest mountain ranges in the world. If I like I think there's like a cave system that runs under a lot of like the Northeast.
A what system?
Some sort of cave system that runs under a lot of the mountains in the Northeast, and it's just like absolutely ancient.
Yeah, I mean that sounds right. I'm in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, all mountains are old. So, they're all ancient, but yeah, no, they might be even more ancient.
Oldest mountain ranges. I don't remember where I heard this, but like the U.S. has like. So to me, the U.S. a lot of people like think about it as like, oh, land of opportunity, melting pot bullshit. But like there is a lot of also just like an insane amount of like natural beauty and like
definitely
like fascinating geography in the States, but we just kind of never think about it just because we got like the New Yorks and Chicagos and San Franciscos.
Yeah, I mean I've never been to like I'd love to go to like more of the desert areas of the U.S. and like Nevada, Arizona area, New Mexico. Like I've never been and seen that spot. But yeah, there's like a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of variety here.
I was in a mountain a few months ago. I went to Carpathian Mountains in Ukraine, and we were trying to. I was there with my wife and our dog, and we were trying to like hike up the mountain a bit, and we thought we were on a path, but it was absolutely not a path. We went up and down what we believed to be Tick Mountain because there were, oh my God, so many fucking ticks everywhere.
It's so scary.
And like it was almost it wasn't like a vertical climb, but it was pretty fucking steep and just like tall grass the entire way. We got like 3/4 of the way up one of them, and there was just like brush as far as we could see. And my wife's just like, "Oh man, are we gonna regret not going up?" And I'm like, "No, I think we're gonna regret it more if we go up and then have to try to figure out our way down because we like our dog was like he's got so much energy, but he was exhausted by the time we got up there. Every single time we would like stop to take a breath, he would lay down and was panting like crazy."
Yeah, I mean, and just the ticks.
Yes.
Alone,
oh my God.
a reason to get out of there.
I think he got 3 or 4 ticks, which like that's honestly not a lot considering how many fucking ticks. Like on the way down, I could see a bunch of ticks just like crawling on him, and I slapped them off before they could get a good bite in. My wife got one. I don't think I got any. Boot.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, I would have regretted going up the mountain if I got like Lyme disease from that trip.
Yeah, hiking, it's fun, but like, it's fun if there's a path,
Right.
And then there's this other mountain I went up with my brother in China. It was I think Guinan Mountain. No, Baiyun Mountain in the southeast. It's in Guangzhou. Like we got to the top of the mountain, and like looking all the way around 360 degrees, it's all city. You could not see a horizon that was not city. It was absurd. Like, because we were
So right, it's just one. It's like not a mountain range. It's just one mountain that's there.
it's a pretty fucking big mountain. Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's a range.
That's interesting. Is the land around it kind of hilly, or like does it?
Yeah, kind of,
or
sort of,
mountain?
kind of, sort of.
Okay.
But it was just insane to see, like, for miles and miles, like nothing but city around
Yeah.
this mountain. And then on the way back down, uh, like my brother wanted to go like off the trail, and we went off the trail, and I think we ended up at some like military camp, and we're like, we should probably fucking climb back up.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say like because you're talking about just lots of cities.
Mhm.
Doesn't China have like infrastructure projects to just build cities in certain areas, and then there's like some that don't have like that many people in them? Am I wrong?
I wouldn't be surprised. I know they have
Read
like 70-80% of like the construction cranes in the world. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're building fuckloads of things, but like a lot of the building infrastructure is not great. They build a lot of buildings that are just like, they fall apart pretty quickly, or like it lacks insulation. Yeah, they're building a lot really fast, and like I understand that they have one of the largest populations in the world. Um,
Well, like I don't know if it's just to kind of like get a money like just move money to
mhm,
kind of just have these projects, and it's also like moving like getting jobs,
mhm.
for people. But like I've heard that like a city will be put up like in such a short amount of time, and
Yeah,
then like no one's there for the longest time.
there's that, and then also like businesses start up and fail within 1 year. Like I lived in China for 3 years, 3ish years, and like one, there was like a huge construction project where they were building the metro in my city, and but like there were businesses that like would start like around Chinese New Year, and then by the end of the year they were completely they were completely closed down and everything. And this happened like almost every year.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And it was that was a pretty populated area.
it was a tier 2 city. It was so I was in Shunda, which is, it's not as big as what the hell is that city next to me? It's where Wang Fei Hong is from.
I don't know.
Fu. Fuck, I'm forgetting my Chinese cities. Damn it! It's a small city on the side of Guangzhou. Guangzhou being the third biggest city in China. And so yeah, it was pretty populated. We had a semi-famous like kindergarten that my wife worked at. But yeah, like there were like a lot of businesses just like starting and stopping very short notices. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
Hot take: best superpower.
Best superpower. It's not really. I don't think it's a hot take because I feel like it's a given. Is that teleportation would be best superpower?
I would constantly be worried. Like I think the best case of that, the best interpretation of that is Nightcrawler from X-Men, where like you need to focus and like know where you're gonna be, otherwise you're gonna end up in a fucking wall or something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. There's some. I guess depending on how it works, you could end up in like nowhere land or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it would work, but I want like a smooth teleportation. You
Uh-huh.
know,
You,
I
you
mean,
you want you want a no problems teleportation is what you want.
no problems teleportation. I forget if there are problems in that movie Jumper. Have you seen that?
Yeah, they leave like some dimensional traces, and like other jumpers are able to like find you based on that. I think that
Right,
was the
right.
issue.
Well, I wouldn't be doing any crime. I would just be I wouldn't be I would just be like skipping a road trip.
If you were given a superpower, do you think you would be a good guy, or would you turn into a supervillain? I would honestly be a fucking supervillain.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. It depends what power. I feel like do I would do neither, but maybe it would corrupt me. I don't know.
Me and my wife were talking earlier. The worst superhero. Kiss Man.
What? Wait, what?
Kiss Man.
Kiss Man?
I'm gonna kiss you. Like, why are you gonna kiss me? It's my power. I'm gonna kiss you.
Is that real?
No,
Oh,
just fucking joking around.
yeah, that would be bad. Wait, is there's some sort of oh yeah, like I love that movie Sky High because like
Oh, where everybody it's like superhero high school. Yeah,
yeah, because like it's so great. They
that's
have,
all Japanese mangas.
Oh really? Yeah.
No,
I
I'm
can
just
see
joking.
that totally. I could see that though.
There is a manga right now. My Hero Academia. It's not. I think they're high schoolers actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love that movie because they have the sidekick aspect.
Mhm.
Like every hero has a sidekick, which I think is fun.
Mhm.
And like some of the side like
I'm
basically,
Kiss
like,
Boy, the sidekick of
you
Kiss
seen it?
Man. Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, like yeah, if Kiss it would be if someone had this power of kissing people, then they would probably be a sidekick. But like there's that kid that glows. You know, it's like somewhat helpful.
Yeah.
But it's not like super strength or something. But yeah, I always thought that was funny. Those like what those kids have as opposed to the other people.
Yeah, everybody wants like these like superhero stuff is that I think that's like everybody's kind of like power trip. Everybody wants superpowers because like as humans we already like feel like super fragile and stuff. And I think that's one of the things with like video games. They give you nonsense powers and like you can get to the point where you're completely broken. Which is kind of why like I think horror games are unique in that like it's not a power trip. It is about making you feel vulnerable and kind of helpless, which is like a very interesting twist on like this this guttural need to feel overpowered.
Yeah, you're reminding me. I didn't play that many video games, but I did like the game Skated, where you're just skateboarding.
I think it's just skated or skate. I know this game.
Well, there's Skate, but Skate It was the
Skate
game
It.
that we like, where you just jump off some like big thing and try to break every bone because they had like this
Oh, I heard
meter.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, like they had this meter, and you can like it. Or what it's called like
Oh, you'd play on the Wii the Wii balance board.
some of them I didn't play on that. You just like flick your Wii remote to do tricks. But yeah, like we would like once you get tired of doing the regular thing, try to break every bone in your body on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also like these weird body horror. It's I don't know if it's body horror, but like the miscellaneous games where it's just like control your body in a really weird way. Like Octodad is one of those games where you're an octopus pretending to be a human and like you control his tentacles and he's just like kind of everywhere.
Yeah, that's fun. I've seen that.
Yeah, this is something I talked about in like the last podcast. Everybody wants to just like play and not have to be punished for it. In some capacity, and I think that like that is also like what the superhero thing is about. I need to watch I think like a new superhero cartoon that's been getting a lot of positive reviews, Invincible.
Wait, is that's a cartoon, right?
Yeah, it's that meme where it's like think Jerry, think, or something like that.
Wait, I think I watched the first episode of it. Yes, I did. I watched the first episode and did not watch any more.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, not that I didn't really like it that much, but I don't know. I don't know. It wasn't my thing, and I was watching with other people.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy looks like J.K. Simmons, I think.
Yeah, he does.
They very much modeled him.
Who is also definitely up there as far as like actors who are perfectly cast for a role with
Right.
J.J. Jameson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah, and Whiplash, he was good in.
Was he in Whiplash?
Yeah,
oh yeah,
he's the
teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, I about this like I'm not. I like the soundtrack to it. I like the I like the jazz. I did like taking jazz seriously thing, but like having a teacher like that wouldn't fly anywhere, you know?
I think it does though. It does, but I mean, I don't think it should, but I think it does. Like stuff like that happens. But
I don't know. I feel like it's just like rife for abuse in like a lot of cases. And I'd say like the biggest parallel would probably be somewhere in sports, and there's just so much abuse in, you know, uh,
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that the writer may have had like some sort of experience that was like that.
mhm,
And I would imagine they made it worse, a little bit worse than it was,
mhm,
but maybe it's almost like that's what it felt like to
mhm,
that extreme. But maybe he didn't throw the drum at him,
mhm.
or
I think it's like a
whatever.
symbol.
Yeah, or throw a symbol at him. But it felt like he was like in his face and like you
Mhm.
know just
Well,
totally scary.
but to me, it still very much is like it's part of that culture where like we praise the competition regardless of like what it does to the people in it. Um,
Yeah, or I mean, I think it's a good movie to meditate on, just like pushing people
mhm.
to like because would that guy have done this great solo without that abuse? Probably not, but is it worth it? Those are the questions that are
But like
you
I,
know
I think like the story from like this past year that is very positive in like the opposite direction of is like with Simone Biles, where she like refused to participate. I don't know if she refused to participate in like the next round of like the Olympics for gymnastics.
yeah, I think that's what it was.
But because like they were gonna deduct points from her for being too epic for the fucking Olympics. And so she just like
Right.
I'm not gonna compete. They're not gonna give me a fair score, and it's not good for my health. I'm already the fucking best.
Yeah.
And if you're not gonna treat me like I'm supposed to be the best, then why should I give you guys the satisfaction of ranking me lower than I should be given? Simone
Yeah, and
Biles is
just
fucking epic.
yeah, and well, I think it was also just the mental health aspect, just being like, like is too much to continue doing it so much, especially with that bit. But
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's a great it's a great thought for the opposite end of something like that,
Yeah.
like respectability and like and not competing
Uh-huh.
uh,
Because I know
that
also that
choice.
there are a couple like tricks in gymnastics that are actually banned because of like the like the overlap between the difficulty of like actually performing it and the risk of like uh permanent damage to like the competitor.
And she
Like,
did them,
well,
probably,
a
or
lot, a lot. I think a lot of the tricks that she did were like they were given their own ranking of difficulty because like nobody else can fucking do them. But I can't remember what the move is. But this one chick, she won an Olympics, performing it, but afterwards she was like crippled because of like doing it.
I mean, it's unbelievable what
And
they're
that
doing.
I think that's the thing of like if you like the pressure to win, when you put that above the people who are working their fucking asses off and almost dying and crippling themselves doing it. Like it's the same thing with like football. Is it worth it for like the millions of dollars that it makes for the team owners and the franchise if these people are getting severe brain damage for the rest of their lives?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's a lot. They're a lot that they're putting on the line.
Luckily, as a sound engineer, you don't gotta do that.
Yeah, it's not the same at all.
What would you say is like as an audio editor? Where do you kind of like set your priorities? I guess between like audio editing, scoring versus like your writing comedy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think right now I am work like my job is you know the number one thing, just in
Mhm.
terms, so that's just right now these podcasts. So but it's relatively a new gig for me.
Mhm.
So I'm kind of in the middle of navigating like where my time lies, and I'm sure as I get more proficient in editing, I'll
Mhm.
be able to have more time to open up to other things.
What
But
what do
yeah,
you predominantly work in? Do you use like GarageBand or Audacity?
well, we record with Audacity for some people because it's remote, but I mix in Pro Tools,
Mm,
and
gotcha.
I used Logic Pro for the score that I did.
Hmm.
That's probably the one that I've used the most.
When is that movie supposed to come out for Roger?
So I don't know. Like, I actually don't know what will happen with when it comes out, and so that everyone can see it. But I do know like it's just going through festivals, and I'm not sure when the festival circuit is done. I think October had a couple festivals, and I think November has some.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I would imagine. I mean, the hope is it can go on a streaming service of some kind, but
Hmm.
I think you can get like most people can put their stuff on Amazon. Um, but I'm not sure exactly, but I can let you know
Yeah,
when that.
I'm definitely looking for like another good horror movie. Uh, I want to go just given that it's October. I also want to go through and like watch some of the classics. Like I haven't watched the original Friday the 13th or
I haven't seen that either,
Or
actually.
Nightmare on Elm Street. You need to
Yeah,
watch. You need to watch The Thing though, because that movie was fucking great.
yes. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I'm not even the biggest fan of horror movies, but
Hmm.
still did this did this one, which I mean, it's not like that traditional of a horror score. I still, there's still jumps,
Hmm.
like a couple jumps scare type moments and stuff, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's a little bit, different.
What's your favorite like genre of movie?
Um, I think I like thrillers that have a comedy angle, kind of like just like tense movies that are funny as well,
Hmm.
like Whiplash or this movie that came out recently, Shiva Baby. Have you
Sh-
seen that?
Shiba Baby.
Shiva Baby.
How do you spell that?
Shiva.
Shiva Baby.
Yeah, that one was that. Like I watched it, and I was like, "This is the kind of movie that this is like my favorite kind of movie."
Hmm.
It's like it's like a sh- uh, a Jewish Shiva, which is like a my understanding is like a funeral. It's like after funeral
Yeah,
kind of.
sitting Shiva.
Yeah, and and basically it's like this tense family get together, and basically she has like a sugar daddy, this main character,
Hmm.
that that he's having an affair with her because he's married too, and then the sugar daddy just like shows up at this shiva, and they
Huh.
kind of have to fake not knowing each other, and it's just very tense, and got great music.
So it's like an awkward rom com.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it plays like a thriller to me because it's like so tense, and there's like it's like close camera angles, and
Uh huh.
like
The sound design definitely it's much more spooky.
yeah, definitely it has like this thriller, almost horror aspect to it, which I thought was so great,
Hmm. Yeah,
and it's super funny too.
I found I'm very just into dumb comedy.
I mean, I like it too.
Like my one of my favorite movies is Kung Pao, Enter the Fist.
I haven't seen that.
Oh my God. It like the premise of it is absurd, and it like the director who's also the main character, he dubs like over a Chinese kung fu movie and inserts himself
Oh,
into cutscenes as like the main character, and uh, the plot is absolutely like stupid, and the jokes are absolutely stupid.
hmm.
like he voices over all of the characters, and he's like, "My name's Betty. I'm the bad guy. I'm the love interest. Ling. Wee, wee, wee."
That's so he did every single voice.
Yeah, Steve Odekirk. He's the main. He's the director and lead actor. Let's see, he's the guy who also did like Barnyard Animals. He fights a cow. Uh, it's a super dumb movie, but like honestly, this has informed so much of like my sense of humor growing up. I think this is actually a movie. This is actually a movie that I have watched in the triple digits because I had it on VHS and and a TV in like my bedroom growing up, and I would like just going to bed. I'd like every night. I'd pop it in and like listen to this. Like this, like Rush Hour 2 and like Space Jam are all up there in like watch times for me.
I haven't seen any of them.
Oh man, the Rush Hour movies are great too.
Yeah, I need to watch I like Jackie Chan a lot,
Yeah, man.
but I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Damn, he ain't gonna be in Rush Hour 3.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those. I watched over and over again the what is it called? The Road to El Dorado. It's
Oh, yeah,
it's like a DreamWorks like cartoon.
with like Tulio and I don't know
And
what the other
Miguel.
name was. And Miguel, yeah. I love the
I used to watch
gif.
that over.
I love the gif of like him with like the guitars, like let me play you the song, my people. Dung, 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 dung.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that one. Still do. I watched that a lot. And I watched although does not hold up Peter Pan, the old Disney.
The original one.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
I'm really like disturbed by Peter Pan. I don't know. I never bought it as a fantasy. It was always just fucking creepy to me.
It's weird, but I still liked it. Or I love the music in that.
Mhm.
The like the choir in that, first couple songs.
There's a voice actor. I can't remember what his name is, but I know his YouTube channel. He's fuck. I can't remember his YouTube channel either. Shit. Let's try Lunchables. The fuck's this guy? Pro ZD.
Oh, I've seen him.
Yeah, this
I've
guy.
seen him, yeah.
He's
great.
he's a voice actor for a lot of different things. And he does.
Yeah.
I think he's on like some Dungeons and Dragons podcast too. But like he can recite any scene from Peter Pan verbatim off the top of his head.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've heard I've seen some of his videos. His like amazing impressions and stuff.
His voice is insane too.
Yeah.
I think like the story for it is like, or like the backstory with Peter Pan is like Captain Hook is like one of the lost boys who got away, and he's like trying to stop Peter Pan from kidnapping kids and like essentially taking them away to this magical place where like they die and shit.
Yeah, I mean it's so bizarre, but it feels like easily could have been a dream you had as a kid to me. Like just
Yeah,
like
I
just
feel
like
that.
the idea of like being taken from your bedroom and like flying out to an island,
Mhm.
and there's like pirates and stuff. It just feels very like almost like natural
Mhm.
for a kid to enjoy, kind of to me. But
Yeah,
maybe that's just my experience of it.
I know like another like backstory, another backstory thing that like makes the original story like you think about it in a different light. Supposedly for like Pirates of the Caribbean, like like it's semi explained in like the second movie where like he owes his soul to Davy Jones' locker, and it's because and it's the same reason. It's part of the reason why the Black Pearl got cursed, his ship, or like he made a deal to get the ship to be as fast as it can, and he owes like a certain number of lives because apparently he freed some sort like a slave ship, and like he owes a life for each one of the people that he that he saved or something. I think like the boat burned down. Um, but yeah, it like makes the character of Jack Sparrow more interesting. Uh,
Yeah,
the first movie of which is I'd say that's an absolute classic from the 2000s.
yeah, that is a good movie. I really like that
That's
one.
a They made pirates cool because for the longest time pirates were not cool.
Yeah, I read it. Yeah, I read an interesting. I've liked pirates. I think it's just an interesting kind of like
Archetype.
concoction of archetype of the.
Yeah, but then you think about all of the rape and like it becomes less pleasant to
Oh,
think about.
oh, it's no, it's so bad. I mean it's like they're like it's just fascinating how I guess like they're an archetype that like children can kind of like look up to or like be
Hmm.
interested in, like sort of like like knights and like there's like knights and castles and
Yeah,
princesses and all that, and then there's pirates on the other side. And I feel like it's just fascinating that it's kind of gotten like romanticized.
hmm
Yeah, there's like a lot of archetypes that are like that. There's a lot of stuff being left out that is not good.
I think a lot of it has to do with like the kind of escapism, fantasy fiction or like adventure fiction. Uh, a lot of which like Journey to Treasure Island. I think that was written by L. Ron Hubbard, the guy who made Scientology.
Oh, I thought it was Robert Louis Stevenson.
Mm, let's see. Uh, Treasure Island. Oh yeah, you're right.
Like like I think he like wrote it for his kids or something.
Uh,
But
what the hell? I know like L. Ron
he
Hubbard.
did,
He was a fiction
he
writer
did
who wrote a
have
fuckload of
he
adventures
wrote
books.
tons of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just it's I think the movies of like early like filmmaking, they did like a lot of like swashbuckling, like
Hmm.
I feel like that made them even more
Oh yeah, I think Errol
popular.
Flynn was
Yes,
one of like
Errol
the
Flynn.
he was one of like the big he was just like was he an actor or a director? I think he was a director or an
He was an
actor.
actor. Yeah, that's actually another one of my favorite movies is the Robin Hood that he's in,
Ah,
which is like from 1938. It's really really good.
is that the
But he's
Robin Hood Men in Tights?
no, it's not Men in Tights, which is also good. But yeah, no, yeah, it's like a similar thing to like the cowboy archetype, just kind of like
Hmm.
those books and movies that just kind of made it seem like a fun adventure instead of maybe what it was.
Yeah. All right, so we are about at time. Uh, do you have things that you want to plug? Things you're working on where people can find you?
Sure, I'll plug, or I'll just say my Twitter's at Will Dinola right there.
Hmm.
No, right there.
Almost down to your right.
There,
It's yeah, whatever. It's there.
there we go. It's right there. And Instagram is Beyond Being Will. And things to plug. I'm working on like I did my own podcast a while ago, and it's like a new health satire thing, like sort of like Marissa's piece
Uh-huh.
for the zine. And I tried to shoot a pilot for it, so I'm trying to edit that now in free time. But
Hmm.
it's kind of like an offshoot of the podcast. And then I'm like working on a movie script, which I don't know if anyone will even see that, but that's another thing I'm working on. But
Dope.
yeah,
Cool. And then there's just like the podcasts, I guess, that you're technically working on.
right. You
Distractible.
can check those out.
Erin
Yeah,
is the funny one. By Wood Elf, and it's like through Q Code.
hmm,
And then the movie, if it does come out, is For Roger.
yeah, definitely.
Cool. Will, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Robin. It was
Uh,
great. It was great to chat.
yeah, man. This has been R Mochi Podcast, episode 17. Yep, episode 17 with Will Denola. Adios.
Cool.